There is a possibility that President Trump and Iranian officials may still meet face-to-face after Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif will be allowed to next week's UN General Assembly meeting after his visa was approved following a long delay. To discuss, let's bring in retired Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff, who is on the Trump Advisory Board Women for Trump, and Asaf Ramirovsky, Executive Director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. Welcome. Jessie Jane, we'll start with you. When you look at these images showing the damage of the oil facilities in Saudi Arabia, what concerns you the most? Is it the fact that Iran has this long-range capability, allegedly, or the fact that nobody apparently was able to detect it, and we're supposed to have all eyes on Iran?
Well, of course, everything of the above concerns us as the United States. We want to ensure that Iran doesn't have the capability to destroy any of our allies, let alone Israel. But let there be no mistake. They have crossed a serious line, and the President of the United States is going to take aggressive action. And everything is on the table. Make no mistake, just because he has indicated that he's going to make tougher sanctions against companies within Iran that have managed to have some of the military sustained and go against the sanctions of the people even harder, what they also have to recognize is if we can have military action if needed. Iran's greatest threat is the United States. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard could never stand up to our forces because our air power, our missile power, everything about us has strength that they cannot even underestimate. So I think the president has been very clear that he is going to take action, but we're going to go a very subtle way right now that's going to cause great pain. It won't necessarily make the headlines as far as dramatic goes, but it will definitely be felt very severely in Iran.
All right, Asaf, Iran has said any aggression against the country would result in, quote, an immediate response from Iran, and the response would not be limited to its source. Is that a not-so-veiled threat at Israel?
I think it is. I mean, I think that we know already that Iran represents the largest destabilizing factor for the Middle East at large. It's exactly why we are acting the way we are when Saudi Arabia has been attacked as far as the Sunni-Shiite divide and as far as the alliance that we have with the Saudis and the Sunni states, and of course Israel at large. And all of that represents, of course, a bigger concern when we talk about Iranian proxies. The fact of the matter is that we know that what we have today as far as the northern part of Israel when it comes to Lebanon, which is basically Hezbollah, it is one and the same. You have Syria when as far as, Iranian ties in that area. All of that represents a grave concern for the Israelis. We've been seeing a adaptation of the same type of tactical warfare that the Hezbollah has adopted in the north when it comes to terror tunnels coming in. We know Hezbollah today is even more equipped as far as long-range missiles than they were back in 2006 as far as an imminent attack on Israel. So when they're talking about an attack, they know exactly what they're talking about vis-a-vis allies of the United States and the U.S. and the U.S. as well. So I mean, this is all part of what they perceive to be as the alliances that are going out to get them. And so especially when it comes to the Iranian threat from their perspective or their own self-interest, they know that the United States and Israel have been on the same page. So that's without a doubt a threat.
So, Jessie Jane, as we're all still waiting for this one solid evidence that Iran is 100% behind this attack, although some in the administration sound very convinced about that already, and the Saudis, of course, will the U.S. be able to, finish it with the sanctions and not respond militarily? Because if President Trump does not respond militarily here, the problem is that the message that we might send to our allies is you can't trust us. And the message that we will send to our enemies is, well, you have nothing to fear of.
I don't think that would be the message at all. The president is very clear. He doesn't want to have boots on the ground. He doesn't want to create a world war. He advocated to pulling our military out of Afghanistan, and he wants to ensure that we bring troops home. So that is not the message that the president wants to send right off the bat. The United States is the most powerful nation in this threesome that we have going right now with the triad of Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the United States. But just like the other guests mentioned, the proxies, we've got Iranian-backed Hezbollah, we have Iranian-backed Hamas, we also have the Houthis down in Yemen. There is so much outreach that the Iranians have that we have to watch from every single angle. This is a 360 observation that must happen 24/7. But the president has the option of the military. For him to go in aggressively right now and slap and hit hard and cause death and destruction is not the way that we want to go about this. The Iranians know what we're capable of, and we are one of those countries that will give you an opportunity to do a pivot and turn around. Iran has that opportunity. If they should not, the warning has been sent, and we're going to perform these sanctions. But the next step may be much more dramatic, as I had indicated before, and it could have a death toll attached to it. I don't think that the rest of the world is right now thinking that the United States is showing any weakness. Peace through strength is what President Trump is practicing right now.
Asaf, while the president, we heard from just a few moments ago, he said the easiest thing that he could do is say, all right, go in, let's launch a strike. He says he's showing restraint. That in mind, is now the right time for him to potentially sit down on the sidelines of the UNGA with the Iranian leadership, or is now not the time given what has transpired this week?
Well, I would argue that this was also the source of the dismissal or resignation. Anyway, when I look at it, when it came to John Bolton and the president, as far as how they perceived looking at Iran as a legitimate actor, I think that there is a school of thought, and I think that that the president has vis-a-vis Jesse's point about peace through security, that we want to exercise a potential vis-a-vis sanctions that will potentially bring people to a conversation at the table. Again, I think that nobody's going into any kind of conversation with the idea that you're trusting the opposition here, right. And I think that that's the same understanding when you're looking at the Iranians and Zarif himself. But I think that there is a door that could be opened if there is a willingness to have a conversation. But I think there's also at the same time the understanding that if you're going to hurt us, we're going to come back.
All right, Asaf Romorowski, Jessie Jane Duff, we thank you so much, both of you, for your time.